In this video, I will show you some of the very useful swing controls. We will start with creating a regular JFrame. Menus. The first control that we will add to the frame is the menu. There are three controls that combine to make a complete menu. They are menu bar, menu, and menu item. We should add the menu bar first. Which already has two menus by default. Then we can add more menus to the menu bar and menu items to the menus. We will add one menu to the menu bar. You can edit the name. We name it as view. Now we will just run this program and see how it looks like. Here we have our three menus. At the moment they do nothing. We do not have any menu items under it. Now we will add some menu items to our already existing menus. You can simply drag and drop these menu items to the menu where you want to add the menu item. Like we dragged and dropped this one on the file menu, this one also on the file menu, this one on the edit menu, and the last one on the view menu. Now we will rename our menus. This one can be new, this one can be open, while under edit the first one can be copy, and the second one can be paste, while this one we can make it as portrait, okay. One thing to remember here, these menu items that we have added, these are exactly the same as buttons. So if you want to write any event on these buttons, that is going to be simply the action performed event. Now we have created the event. Here we can come and write our code. That can be anything. I'm just going to write simple J option pan to display a pop-up message dialog to show that an event has been generated. Now we will run this program and see what happens. We will click our menu item, and here you can see that it displays the dialog box. Now we will create the event handler for all the menu items. We will run this and see if our menu items are working fine or not. Okay, one very handy tool we have here for the menus, under the frame navigator, you will see that it shows us all the menu bar and menu item. The first one is the menu bar. Then under the menu bar you have 3 menus, and under each menu you have the menu items. So it shows you complete hierarchy of your menu bar. Okay, the next control that we are going to talk about is the panel. A JPanel, which is part of the Java Swing package, is a container that can store a group of components. The main task of JPanel is to organize the components that we put on it, and they can have various layouts. For the panel, we can set a different layout for each panel, and through this we can organize our components on a frame. And a panel does not have a title bar also. Okay, now here we will see how to add the panels. You can find the panels on the under the swing container. You can drag and drop this panel onto the frame. You can reset the size, how much space it should cover. We will just try to change the color of all the panels so that they are all visible. Now we have our 4 panels on the frame. So we will just try to add some buttons to it and set the layout of each panel. You can right click the panel, set layout, select the flow layout for this one. Now we will add more buttons to it, and you can see that it rearranges itself. Now the second one, we will set the layout of this one as the grid layout. We will add 4 buttons to it and try to make a grid of 2 by 2. Now here you can see that we have 1 row and 4 columns, but we will set the properties of this grid layout to 2 rows and 2 columns. You can right click the grid layout and select properties, and here you can come and say 2 columns and 2 rows. Now you can see we have 2 by 2 grid, but we cannot see the panel behind it, so we will just increase the gaps for this grid. Now you see that the panel behind the buttons is also visible. So this is how you can add different panels, and inside those different panels you can add different controls and arrange them differently, whatever type of layout suits you. Okay, now we will try to add the text area. This is the text area. You can drag and drop it. It's like a text field, but it has more space, more area where you can type. Now this is how the control looks like. We will just run this one and see. Here you can see that it has the horizontal scroll bar. Now if I start typing, you can see it goes on until I press enter. Only then it comes to the next line. And usually we don't want this type of text area with horizontal scroll bar. There can be a reason that you want to have one, but for this case we will try to remove this. So to remove that one, we have this property of the text area as line wrap. This should be true. So now you can see you don't have the scroll bar there, and if you type here, it goes to the next line. So here you don't have to press enter. Now if I just copy and paste this one, you will see it would show you the vertical scroll bar. So this one comes on automatically. Now we will just see how to get the information that has been typed into the text area. For that we will just add one button and write the event handler, so that when that button is clicked, the data, the text inside the text area would be displayed on a small dialog box or message box. Here we can use the JTextArea dot get text. Now we run this one and we can type something here. So you can see once you click the button, that text is displayed here. Okay, now we will see how the window listener works. The window listener is notified whenever you change the state of the window. It means that if the window is open, you close it, you open it, or you can minimize it, maximize it, or it loses the focus or it gains the focus. So all these events are handled by window listener. Now we will see how to add these window listener events. Now if you go to the properties of the frame under the events, you will see all these different events: window activated, closed, closing, deactivated, de-iconified, gained focus, lost focus, opened, state change. All these are different events that happen when the you change the window, try to close it, open it, or any of these things that you try to do with the window. So now we'll see how to add these events. You can click this drop down and select the event from there. Here you will have to write the code under this event. So we are just going to write on the terminal, on the output terminal, so just to see that what is happening. So this is window activated, so we will just print a string here which is window activated. Then we will add the other event, window closed, and like this we are going to add all the different event handlers here so that we can see what happens. So now we have added all the different events, you can see here. So now to see how these events behave or react, we will run this program. So you can see when we started the program, it shows us windows activated, gained focus, and opened. So now we will minimize this one and see what happens. Okay, you can see we have 4 more events: iconified, state change, lost focus, and deactivated. So we will maximize it again or restore it again. Once again, de-iconified, state change, activated, and gained focus. Iconified means that it changes into an icon because we just have this window as an icon on the taskbar. So now we closed it, so we have these ones: closing, lost focus, deactivated, and closed. So this is how this window listener works. Okay, now we will see how to add radio buttons and checkboxes. One thing to remember here, that when we are adding radio buttons or checkboxes, we can group them into one single group. Now all those buttons that are in a single group will be treated as one, meaning that you can only select one of them, you cannot select two. So like here we have all the radio buttons in one group, it means only one can be selected at a time, while the checkboxes are not in the group, so multiple of them can be selected. Okay, now we will start adding the radio buttons and checkboxes. So the first thing we need to do is we can add a group first, and then we will add the radio buttons and checkboxes. You can simply drag and drop the button group. Now we will add the radio buttons. Now we can add the checkboxes also. Now here you can see that the radio button is the group for the radio button is visible. So but on the frame you cannot see it, but it is there. So now you can select one of the radio button, and in the properties you need to go and select the group and add that radio button or all those buttons into one single group. So this is your button group. Here you have button group. So radio button 1 has been added. Similarly, radio button 2 and 3. Now all these buttons are in a single group, which means that only one can be selected. Now we run this one and we'll just have a look at it. You can see multiple checkboxes are selected because they are not in a group, while radio buttons we can select more than one. These properties just show you that how many controls are added to that group. And you can see these small yellow lines indicating that these are in a single group also. We can add one more group and add the checkboxes to it also. Now you will see it shows two groups. So we can go one by one on each checkbox and add them into group 2. Now we will run this. Now you can see only one checkbox is selected. You cannot select two. But usually this is not the case. When we have checkboxes, it means we want to select more than one. And when it's radio button, we want to select only one. But you can use any of the possibilities you want to use. Now we are removing all the radio buttons from the group, so they are not grouped at the moment. So we will run this and you can see the checkboxes shows those yellow lines. Now the checkboxes, only one can be selected from the checkboxes, while you can select multiple radio buttons because they are not in a group. But once again, this is not the method that is used normally. So we will just remove them from the group and add the radio buttons into the group. Now we just need to write a small code to see which radio buttons and which checkboxes are selected. So now we will create the action performed event for it, and here we can write few lines of code to check which radio button is selected or which checkboxes is selected. We have defined a string, and here we will just use the method is selected of each radio button and checkboxes to see if that is selected or not. If it is selected, we will just add the name of the radio button to the string. We can display the string in the J option pan. We will run this now. Okay, it doesn't have the new line escape sequence, which we will add it here. We run again. Now you can see it shows radio button 2 and checkbox 1. Now we have 2, 1, 2. So you can see here that it's working perfectly.